There are dozens of AI agent tools out there right now, and if you try to figure out which one to use on your own, you'll waste weeks testing things that just don't work for you. But I've already done that. And so in this video, I'm giving you the 5 AI agent tools that are actually worth your time right now, ranked from worst to best, so you can start automating your daily tasks today and save hours every week. Starting at the bottom of the list is Manus AI, and being at the 5th place here doesn't really mean it's bad, it just means the other 4 give you more control over what happens. So Manus takes your multi-step tasks and just runs the whole thing autonomously in the cloud. You give it a detailed prompt, it builds a plan, runs deep research across the web, generates visuals, and delivers everything as a polished interactive dashboard that you can click through and explore. I'm going to go to Manus.ai right now and type in a prompt. I'll ask it to research the top 5 AI agent trends this month, pull what people are saying on Reddit and X, find the biggest gaps in existing content, and compile everything into a visual report. Manus thinks for a bit, comes up with a step-by-step plan, and starts executing it. It goes off on its own from here, doing research, pulling data, generating graphics, and building the whole report. This usually takes a few minutes depending on how complex the task is, and when it finishes, I get this full interactive dashboard on the side, sections for each trend, charts, infographics, and even a breakdown of what questions people are asking right now. It looks polished right out of the box. Skills is the one other thing Manus does well. Once I'm happy with the result, I can save everything as a reusable skill, so next time I need that kind of report, I just trigger it and swap in the new topic. Now it's ranked 5th because out of everything on this list, it's the most hands-off option, which sounds great until you realize you barely control what actually happens along the way. And for anything beyond research and reports, the other tools on this list are much more flexible. Manus is best for anyone who needs polished research deliverables without touching any setup or configuration. If you need a competitive analysis, a content research package, or a thorough breakdown of a specific topic, it handles that really well. But it's a one-way street. You send a task and wait for the result. The next tool on this list gives you something Manus doesn't, which is a full team of agents all coordinating together in real time. Paperclip is an open source orchestrator that lets you hire a team of AI agents, give each one a role, set individual budgets, and have them pass work between each other. So instead of one agent doing everything, I have a CEO agent that plans and delegates, an engineer that builds, a QA agent that reviews, and a writer that drafts content. Each one has its own instructions, its own skills, and its own monthly token budget that auto-pauses if it goes over. I run Paperclip on Hostinger, which is honestly the best way to use it since the agents need to keep running even when you're not there. Hostinger has a one-click deploy for Paperclip, and I've left the link in the description if you want to set it up yourself. From the dashboard, I already have a company set out with 3 agents. If I click into the Issues tab, I can see every task that's been created and which agent is assigned to each one. If I click on Agents in the sidebar, I can see my CEO, my research agent, and my writer listed with their current status. To give them something new to do, I'll hit New Issue, title it Research 3 Trending AI Topics, assign it to the research agent, and hit Create. The research agent picks it up and does the work. Once the research is complete, I switch to the writer agent and paste in a simple prompt telling it what to do with the results. The writer produces the finished piece, and I can see the full chain of who did what in the issue history. And Paperclip supports routines, which are recurring tasks you can set to run whenever you want. I'll click Routines in the sidebar, press Create Routine, assign it to the research agent, and set it to fire every Monday at 8 a.m. Each time it runs, it creates a tracked issue so I can see what happened, how many tokens it cost, and whether the output was good. Now my honest take here is that Paperclip is relatively new, and the concept is ahead of everything else on this list, but the execution is still catching up. Multi-agent coordination adds complexity, and if your instructions aren't precise, quality drops fast. Right now, a well-configured single agent will often beat a loosely configured Paperclip team. That said, Paperclip is best for people who already know their way around single agents and want to start pushing into multi-agent territory. It's not the first agent you should try, but it might be the most interesting one to watch over the next few months. Paperclip coordinates a team of agents, but all of them need you to define exactly what to do and when. The next tool on this list takes a completely different approach because you build the workflow once and it runs on its own every time a trigger fires. NA10 is a workflow automation platform that works in a completely different way from everything else on this list. You don't chat with it and you don't assign it tasks. Instead, you build automated workflows using a visual node-based editor where you drag steps onto a canvas and connect them together. What that means in practice is that each step in your workflow is a block on the screen. Things like trigger when a new row is added to Google Sheets, run a web search, analyze the results with AI, and save to Google Drive. You connect those blocks with lines, and everything flows from one step to the next automatically. Once the workflow is built, it runs the exact same way every single time the trigger fires. I'll show you what that looks like. I have a workflow running right now where I add company names to a Google Sheet whenever a potential sponsor reaches out. The moment a new entry appears, NA10 triggers automatically. It takes the company name, searches the web, visits their website, pulls the main information like what they do, how big they are, and who their audience is, and then uses an AI step to compile all of that into a one-page research brief that gets dropped into a Google Drive folder. On the canvas, I can see each step as a note. The Google Sheets trigger connects to an HTTP request node that grabs the company's website, then a code node cleans up the HTML, then Claude writes the research brief, then it gets converted to a file and uploaded to Google Drive. Each connection is a line I can click to see the data flowing through it. If something breaks, I can see exactly which node failed and fix just that step. And what makes NA10 especially good for business workflows is the branching. You can set up conditional workflows so different inputs trigger different actions automatically. The trade-off here is the learning curve. Building your first workflow takes longer than typing a prompt into Co-work or Manus because you're designing a visual flow rather than writing instructions. But once it's built, you get the most reliability out of anything on this list because it runs the exact same way every single time. Hostinger handles hosting for NA10 just like it does with Paperclip, so you can head to the deploy page and get it live instantly. If you do the same 5 steps every time a new lead comes in, a new invoice arrives, or a new piece of content needs to go out, NA10 handles that better than anything else here. However, it does require you to build the workflow upfront. The next tool on this list is the opposite. You describe what you want done, and it figures out the rest. Claude Co-work is built into the Claude desktop app. You give it access to a folder on your computer, describe a task, and it plans everything out, breaks it into subtasks, and delivers finished files while you step away. The reason Co-work is ranked this high is the combination of how easy it is to start with and how much depth it actually has underneath. The UI is the simplest on this list. You just open the app, pick a folder, and type what you want done. But once you set up context files with your role, your preferences, and your writing style, every single task Co-work runs picks up that information automatically. The output matches how you work instead of feeling like generic AI. I'll open Co-work right now and give it something to do. I have a folder full of messy meeting notes, PDFs, text files, Word docs, and none of them are organized. I'll give Co-work access to that folder and type a prompt asking it to go through every file, extract the action items, organize them by client name, and build a master spreadsheet with columns for client, action item, deadline, and status. And Co-work is off. I can see it spinning up parallel workers, each one reading a different document at the same time. About 3 minutes later, the spreadsheet is done and sitting in my output folder. Every action item pulled, organized, and formatted exactly how I asked. On top of that, Co-work has connectors for over 38 apps, including Gmail, Slack, Drive, Notion, and many more. So I can ask it to check my Gmail for emails from a specific client, cross-reference my calendar for upcoming meetings with them, and draft a prep document all in one prompt. And 2 minutes later, the document is in my chat. The best part here is that I can turn any task into a reusable skill, then attach it to a schedule so it runs automatically. So I can just perform a task once and ask Claude to bundle it as a .skill file. It'll start creating the skill file, which I can just save to my skills folder. And now it's ready to be executed whenever I want. Co-work also has memory built in, so the longer I use it, the more it picks up about how I like things done. What holds Co-work back from number 1 is that it only runs while the desktop app is open and your computer is awake. And it doesn't have an always-on mode that learns and improves independently over time, and that's exactly what makes our number 1 pick pull way ahead from everything else. OpenClaw is an open source personal AI assistant that runs on a server 24/7, connects to your email, calendar, browser, and any tool you give it access to, and the part that puts it above everything else is that it actually learns about you over time. You can interact with it through WhatsApp, Telegram, Slack, or whatever app you already use, and it goes off and executes the task for you. Now I know OpenClaw has gotten a lot of criticism lately about this setup being too complicated, alongside people running into security issues and agents going rogue to burn through all the API credits instantly. So if you tried setting it up on your own machine, there's a good chance you walked away before it ever did anything useful. And if that was the only way to run it, it wouldn't be on this list. Honestly, Hostinger just eliminates all those setup problems, and that's what makes it the clear number 1. By pressing the link down below, you'll land on this Hostinger page. From here, you can just press the deploy button, fill out some configuration info, and it sets itself up. I'll show you what it looks like once it's running. I'll open Telegram and send my OpenClaw message. I'll say, go through the top AI subreddits and find the 5 most discussed topics today, then tell me which ones are most relevant to the kind of content I make on YouTube. And this is where the persistent memory matters. My OpenClaw already knows what kind of content I create because I've been using it for weeks. It studied my channel, learned what topics I care about, and now uses all of that context when filtering what it finds. So instead of getting a generic list of trending Reddit posts, I get a curated list of topics that are specifically relevant to me. And if I look at the recommendations and say, I don't find the first 2 interesting for these reasons, but I do like the last 3. It updates its own filters. Tomorrow's list will be better, and the day after that, even better. Instead of me rewriting a prompt every time, the agent improves that part itself. The downsides are real though. It burns through API credits if you give it too many permissions without setting limits, and since it has full system access, you really need to think about what you let it do, because it can browse, send messages, and take real actions on your behalf. But once it's set up properly, nothing else comes close. It's a real assistant that operates while you sleep, and just keeps getting better at its job day by day. So a quick breakdown is, if you want polished research without any setup, go with Manus. If you want to experiment with multi-agent teams, try Paperclip. If you want to permanently automate repeatable workflows, use NA10. If you want the easiest setup and the most depth underneath, start with Claude Co-work. And if you want an always-on assistant that genuinely grows over time, OpenClaw is the one. And to keep OpenClaw live around the clock, you need somewhere to host it, which is why Hostinger is where all 3 of them live: OpenClaw, Paperclip, and NA10. So if you want to set up the same thing, check the description below for the Hostinger links. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.